Hello fellow shrewd investors. Welcome to another video in your channel. The violent inflation worries you, right? The continuous expropriation of the middle class through skyrocketing of prices with no compensating interest rates or salaries is getting more and more the norm. You don't trust the promises of the state. How can you? Look at this.
Is there a risk of inflation? I think there's a small risk, and I think it's manageable.
Here, Janet Yellen says that there is only a small risk of inflation, which is also manageable. Nice. Several months later, she insists that the inflation is transitory.
Are higher prices here to stay? I believe it's transitory.
Of course, with the staggering and irrefutable evidence in our daily life that all of us feel, she had to admit just last week that she was wrong.
Well, look, I think I was wrong then about,
and that she was not able to understand what is going on.
that I didn't, at the time, didn't fully understand, but we recognize that now.
Well, if a minor employee would do such a mistake, what would happen? He or she would resign or would be removed from the office most likely. But Mrs. Yellen can still learn by experimenting on the whole population. And you know, she trusts Jerome Powell so much.
Look, I'm not going to comment on the Fed's policies. Chair Powell has made clear that he has every intention and believes, as I would, that the Fed has the tools to bring inflation down, and that's his focus.
Of course, they have all the tools. Jerome Powell himself made the same mistake and called the inflation transitory.
Our expectation is that these high inflation readings that we're seeing now will start to abate, and that's what we think.
Well, you heard. How can you trust them? They have already lied several times. The bad news is that the hyperinflation is getting worse and will be here for a very long time. The good news is that you are in a correct place. In the past video, I talked about gold being used as a currency for thousands of years. I also told you that gold was the support basis for United States dollar until Nixon shock, which terminated the Bretton Woods Agreement and ended the gold standard and thereby ended the convertibility of the US dollar into gold. Here, in this video, I will show you why you have to invest in gold before the end of summer 2022. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, is quite a respected authority in global economy. Unlike the government that always tried to downplay the risk of the inflation, he sees not only a huge risk of inflation, but also resembles it to what? A hurricane.
It's a hurricane. Right now it's kind of sunny, things are doing fine. You know, everyone thinks the Fed can handle this. That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way.
This brings us to the first reason to invest in gold, a real asset with limited supply. This inflation will be huge and prolonged and will have unimaginable consequences on the buying power of people. As always, the first goal is to protect our purchasing power and the value of our money in an excessively uncertain world, particularly from the economic point of view. The second reason is that, if not gold, where else? What are alternative investment opportunities? The stock market is declining, and all evidence shows that this bear market will be a prolonged one and at least as terrible as the one that followed dot-com bubble burst, if not worse. Let's be honest, the stock market is at the brink of crash. On the other hand, crypto market is extremely volatile and too risky for a big portion of your money. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against trading here and there in the stock market or cryptocurrencies. But we are talking about potentially long-term investment choices. Gold has historically performed very well during bear markets and highly volatile market conditions. Of course, gold has an additional advantage compared to other asset types. It is tax-free. The third reason is that you can actually own it anonymously. This is an important advantage, and it is the most valuable asset against expropriation. If you think that this is too dramatic and an extreme scenario, think twice and look back what happened to people's belongings after the Great Depression in the USA and after the World War II in Germany. You even don't need to look back at the recent history. Just a couple of weeks ago, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, warned that the global economy is facing the hardest challenges since the World War II. And don't forget Klaus Schwab, the founder and president of the World Economic Forum, who said, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." Really? Expropriation is in two forms. Gradual expropriation happens when gigantic amount of money is printed, and usually the average person like you and me doesn't get their right share. If you got a couple of times checks of 1,000 or 1,500 US dollar, be sure that multiple times of that amount has been taken from you by devaluation of your assets and the wild increase in your expenses such as gas, electricity, and food, which we all feel in our daily life, and it will get even worse. The second type of expropriation is direct confiscation of your belongings by the state through the state of emergency or similar measures. Anonymous gold holding is a saver in such situations. The fourth reason is to look at the states. While Western countries hold the highest gold reserves, some big countries such as Russia, China, and India bought huge amounts of gold during the last few years in preparation for global financial crisis. You might ask, we are private people, and how can you give example of states? Does that make sense at all? Yes, indeed it makes sense. When there is a disaster, animals are the first to escape. I will share with you some interesting facts here. When there is an earthquake, dogs and birds are the first ones to sense it. Snakes have winter hibernation. However, when they sense an earthquake is coming, they get up from hibernation and come out of their nest. It is incredible but real. When there is a flood, if you follow rats, you will save yourself. As the saying goes, follow the rats. Okay, enough of interesting facts and back to the reality. Do you know that the states that are holding or buying huge amounts of gold are making it hard for people to buy gold anonymously? For example, in Switzerland, the amount of gold that can be purchased anonymously has recently been decreased from 25,000 to 15,000 Swiss francs. Germany, that had decreased the amount of anonymous gold purchased from 15,000 to 10,000 not so long ago, took a bolder step and decreased this amount to mere 2,000 euros. And of course, all these measures are under the disguise of preventing money laundering. And finally, the fifth reason is its mobility and liquidity. Given the high value of gold, it is quite compact and you can take it with you wherever you go in case of need. And given different sizes of the bars and coins, it is quite liquid for expenses of different sizes, from buying a car, a refrigerator, or monthly food costs. Finally, there are different ways of buying gold. Physical gold is what I suggest, especially for the current global economic circumstances, but you can also have paper gold or invest in gold ETFs or even in gold mining companies. Let's prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Stay happy and wealthy until next time.